You alluded earlier to an example where you said, "Hey, if you're in pelvic health, do you have a chaperone present?" and stuff like that. That's also an interesting angle to kind of maybe explore a little bit too, because on the one hand, and I'm just oversimplifying this, right? But on the one hand, having the chaperone in there, extra set of eyes, less the risk of any bad behavior, but that's another person on the payroll, probably not generating revenue while they're standing there, that sort of thing. And so, like, I don't know how to articulate the question, but I thought it was interesting that you brought that up because now you're thinking about this, like, practice owner, this example, this hypothetical practice owner we just brought up a little while ago. They're sitting there thinking, okay, it's me plus two other clinicians, and I either need to, like, put somebody else on the payroll that's going to be the chaperone, or maybe I'm going to borrow some time from, like, my front desk person, and they're going to pop in or something like that. Where's where's the crossover point between one more salary versus just paying for more coverage just in case something happens? This is probably more of like a statement than a question, but I thought it was interesting you brought up that point, because it's like you're balancing the need for operational realities, like higher payroll is
It's the
tougher.
best question. That's the best question, Paul.
I
It's
love
like
it. Oh yes.
it's like it doesn't make it's like, does this really make sense for me? Like, hey, that's a great recommendation from a risk guy. Great, thanks a lot, pal, but it doesn't work for my clinic. Like, I think you have to be reasonable about these things. And if you're the type of clinic where you think that 95% of your patients are going to say, yes, I do want the chaperone, then yes, it's probably not something that you want to implore as a strict policy in your clinic. But the reality
Hmm.
of it is the vast majority of patients are saying, no, I don't want a chaperone. So your operational burden or of what the cost is really going to be to supply that is, I don't think, is very high at all. I think you can
Yeah.
have somebody that's at your front desk. And the other thing is, the big thing about this, and the big thing that makes this difference in terms of if you're the business owner weighing the operational, is it worth it? The big difference is your professional liability insurance is likely not going to cover if it is determined that your staff member is a bad actor in the things that they're doing, and it's outside, it is now criminal, it is not under what they're doing for their professional duties within their scope. That changes things, and it is likely that you are not going to have that same coverage the same way you would if someone falls, or if you manipulated someone and they got injured. So I think that this specific thing is different. So my suggestion really is, for even these small clinics, is you've got a light version of a policy that speaks to it and has the offering, knowing that most of the time these patients are going to decline it, and then if you see it, yeah, everyone wants it. I mean, you might have other issues and things of how you determine who's providing the care.
Anyway, it's I like the balanced approach there too, which is interesting. Also, I didn't realize that you mentioned that, like, 95% of, I think you used the number
Yeah, yeah.
95. I think
Yeah, that's, I'm
95% of
just
people
spitballing
opt
there.
out. That's not what I expected, actually. I would have thought it would be the other way, but hey,
What? Who want the chaperone?
I that would have been a pure conjecture, by the way. I would have just assumed in that context they may want it, but clearly, what do I know?
I think it'll be great to have some, pelvic PT professionals or OT professionals who are doing this, weigh in on this for sure. But I think that, and the ones that I've spoke to, the reason why they haven't really thought or considered this much is because most patients don't ask for it or want it. Now they're not being offered it, right? But I think and even working in health systems where, OB clinics, and the vast majority of patients say, no, I'm fine. I don't need another person in here. I already have a relationship with my therapist here. They've had good communication and conversation about what's going to occur. I'm
Yep,
comfortable. I don't need a third
yep,
party. But the
yep, yep,
offer
yep.
can be a big risk mitigating factor, even if they
The
don't.
offer.
Yeah, the offer, and then having the policy that says, if you want it, I am the therapist, have the ability to opt out. So that's another key part about this, Paul, is having the policy that says, I cannot treat you if I'm uncomfortable as a therapist, if I don't want, hey, my other colleague to sit in on this visit. Now, some of these patients have significant, behavioral health, mental health histories. They may have traumatic backgrounds. So, having someone, the therapist may feel more comfortable having that carve in a policy that says, hey, I can opt to not move on with this treatment without it feeling like it's discriminatory, or, you're selecting which patients you do and don't want to see. Or so I think it's helpful for the protection of the therapist when they're uncomfortable also.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.